The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
BronxNet. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Coming up on this edition of Perspectives, we're talking about the formerly incarcerated and their ability to find employment, prosperity, and job fair around the corner. That's straight ahead on this edition of Perspectives with yours truly, Darren Jaime.
Relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective which shines a light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life. What's your perspective?
And hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I'm Darren Jaime. We encourage you to stay connected to us here on the show. We have social networking sites. You can hit us up on Facebook at BronxNet Perspectives, as well as Twitter. There you'll be able to find out about some past episodes of the show. You'll be able to click in and let us know what you like, what you want to see, and most of all, get a response from us, as we are very interested in finding out what's on your heart, what's on your definitely connect with. So do that. Take advantage of us here on our social networking sites. Coming front and center on this particular edition of Perspectives, we're talking about the formerly incarcerated. For many, the opportunity for employment is challenged. Employment opportunities somewhat dwindling, given the fact of the state of the economy, the recession, and for those who are seeking employment, it's hard enough. When you're formerly incarcerated, even harder. There's a Prison and Prosperity Fair that is taking place right here in our borough on the campus of Lehman College, designed to really promote and give opportunity as well as a voice to those who are formerly incarcerated. We are pleased to be joined in studio by Ms. Sheila Rule, who is also the co-founder of Think Outside the Cell, and we're glad to have you sharing with us here, and good to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for this opportunity.
Well, I think that most of all, it's important for us to have a conversation because as a person who's worked with those who've been incarcerated and those who are formerly incarcerated, you hear the consistent stories of just really not being able to reintegrate into society. And so you guys are taking that matter to heart, and share a little bit about that.
You're so right. People come home and they're confronted with so many barriers that really keep them out of mainstream society and keep them from full citizenship. They have trouble finding full employment. They have trouble getting housing. They can't vote. They can't get higher education without a real struggle often. So all of these things end up keeping them on the fringes of society. So we decided to do a fair focusing basically on entrepreneurship because in some ways that levels the playing field. You can really create your own opportunities. So and we saw that as important, not only because of kind of confronting that whole notion of boundaries, but also because so many people coming home have innate entrepreneurial gifts.
Right.
So why not use them?
But the recession in many ways has created an opportunity for people to look within and also be able to create, through their own gifts, the opportunity for entrepreneurship and, employing themselves in the form of their own business. Give us a little bit about that, because I think that when you see entrepreneurs who are formerly incarcerated, some of that is out of the anguish and frustration of just not being able to make it in mainstream society.
Well, I think your point about the recession is very important, because what's happened, not only for people who are formerly incarcerated, for people who used to be on Wall Street, for people who used to be librarians, for a range of people, they've gone to entrepreneurship. because it is a way to make their way when the kind of traditional avenues are crumbling or shut down. So entrepreneurship is really, for many people, a godsend. And for this population, who often have been entrepreneurs in the past on the other side of the law, you know, they've made their businesses work, they've done their hustle, and now with this fair, whether they are entrepreneurs or have dreams of becoming entrepreneurs, this allows them to take their idea to the next level.
Walk us through the fair. So if it's a person as a participant and they come through, what can they expect?
Wow, we're going to have an opening address by Loida Lewis. Loida is a philanthropist, entrepreneur, businesswoman, and she's the widow of Reginald Lewis. He was the first African American to run a $2 billion company, and at his death, she took it over. So she's quite formidable. We're going to have workshops for people who have dreams of becoming entrepreneurs, for people who are entrepreneurs. Everything from, you know, how to make sure that you don't get caught in some landmines when you're just starting out, and also how to market your existing business and help make your customers your own ambassadors. So we're going to have a range of workshops, and then we're also going to have tabling available with a range of organizations and agencies that support this population. And then at about 2 o'clock, we're going to have something. It's our version of the Shark Tank. So it's a business competition. We have thousands of dollars in cash prizes, computer, etc. So this is going to be serious fun.
So people have the opportunity to really be competitive in this too.
Absolutely. We are looking for the best business pitches. You're going to get up in front of the audience and sell your idea, sell your dream.
And for people who really are doing this, it's got to be, first of all, a wonderful feeling to have an opportunity such as this, because opportunities like these really don't come by often.
You're right. They don't come often enough, and I think that's kind of the inspiration.
Frustration too, yeah.
It's a frustration, but it's also kind of the inspiration behind this Prison to Prosperity Fair. My husband, who is incarcerated, and I dreamt up this fair a few years ago, because this was at the height of the recession, and we said, if people who are in the mainstream are struggling, what's happening to people who are coming home?
Absolutely.
Who's thinking about them? So we said we've got to show that people care and that we're here to help.
Do the incarcerated feel that? Did they feel kind of like shunned out by mainstream society? Because I've often said that when you deal with the incarcerated, they have serve time, and at the end of their sentence, they would be qualified as serve time. But it seems like they do a double sentence because you can't get out and have some of the same rights and privileges as prior to. Some legally, of course, but others just, you know, I've done my time. I think I want to get a job. I want to be a part and be rehabilitated to come into society, but I can't.
Right. The tragedy is that you've paid your dues, you've done your time, but you're branded for the rest of your life. It's the stigma of incarceration. It's this long shadow that follows you. And when somebody finds out you were incarcerated, all of a sudden, everything changes. You see it in housing, employment, everything. Yeah.
Stay with us. Coming back with more perspectives right after this, talking about the Prison to Prosperity Fair taking place right here in the borough of the Bronx. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back right after this.
All right. Give me a spot. You know my motto, safety first.
They could be dangerous. I think we should call animal control.
Animal control?
To be safe.
Don't worry.
Just...
I got this. It's a new motto.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Being a dad can be tough.
No. What do you mean she's not coming?
When's the fairy princess coming?
Any minute now.
But when you're willing to do anything...
It is I, Grooves Zinkerbell. Okay, time for cake.
It's always worth it.
I know it's really you, Gru. I'm just pretending for the other kids.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Barry, time is running out. According to my calculations, 1 in 5 kids in America struggles with hunger. How can so many children face hunger when there's more than enough food to feed them all?
Babadoo.
You're right, Barry. We can help solve hunger by teaming up with Feeding America to get food to hungry kids in communities across the country.
Help Flint and the Feeding America network of food banks get food to the people who need it in your community. Find your local Feeding America food bank at feedingamerica.org/hunger.
Together, we're Feeding America.
We're back here on Perspectives, our topic of conversation, the upcoming Prison to Prosperity Fair taking place here in the borough of the Bronx. And Sheila's here with us. And we didn't mention, but we can say now, the fair is free.
Yes.
Open to the public.
Absolutely.
So that means come on down.
That's right.
That's it. And so we want people to talk about the partnership, because it's a partnership with a lot of people who are really able to make this happen.
Right, yeah. Think Outside the Cell is working with the Bronx Clergy Criminal Justice Roundtable, Reverend Q English's group. We've also got the borough president of the Bronx, the borough president of Manhattan, and their wonderful staffs. We've also got the Bronx Reentry the Bronx Task Force, Reentry Task Force. So we've got a lot of fingers in the pot, which is a good thing.
When you talk about reentry, I know a lot of emphasis has been placed here in the borough about trying to work on reentry. Do you know some of the things that are happening by way of helping people become more familiar with reentry? Because for a while that became a lost issue, but now it's really up at the forefront.
Right. I think reentry is more and more people, I think, are beginning to realize that they've got to pay attention to this, because at the end of the day, most people are coming home. Whether people want to focus on it or not, that's the reality. And beyond reentry, I think people are beginning to talk about reintegration, true reintegration, which really means thinking about all those barriers, the collateral consequences, as they call them, the hurdles that people have to face. How do people really reintegrate into the fabric of society? So I think there's more attention being paid to that.
Are the walls coming down a little bit?
I think there's going to be a lot of work involved before those barriers, those collateral consequences come down to a level where they really allow people to have a fair second chance. A lot of work has to be done, because there are laws and policies on the books, but beyond that, there is an attitude.
What is the culture of those persons? What's the mentality, if you will?
Of people who have that attitude?
Yeah.
I think more than anything, it's fear. And it's the kind of fear, I would say, that most people who have that fear don't think about it. They don't think about the formerly incarcerated until it's presented to them. And it can be presented to them in a range of ways. One is the tabloid headlines. Somebody's about to come home, somebody who served their time, and then there's a tabloid headline. Cop killer being let out, that kind of thing, which serves no one. But it whips up this fear. The same thing with people who may be looking for an apartment, and the landlord hears that the person is formerly incarcerated. So the first thing they think about is not that human being, but they think about the stereotypes, the statistics. So that is something that we really have to, I would say, have a movement, a campaign to get people to really see the hearts and minds of people coming home, not the stereotypes.
Is there, well, I guess the awareness is out there now that we really need to have a conversation and to have a dialogue. Are people more amenable to even having that conversation and dialogue, do you think?
I think some are. I think some are. Because we had the Think Outside the Cell Foundation in 2011 had a very big symposium, a national symposium at Riverside Church. And we had lots of people come for whom criminal justice, the incarcerated, it's not their issue. Right. They came for other reasons because we had some great speakers, so they came to hear them. But the focus was criminal justice. And what happened afterwards, lots of people came up and said, you know, I didn't know. I just didn't know. So people don't know, but when they hear about it, I think there are a lot of people who are open to thinking about these things and being open to people who are coming home.
So we invite you to be a part of the Prison and Prosperity Fair that's taking place. Let's give the date and time.
It is October 26th. It is an all-day event here at Lehman College. It will start at 8. The program itself starts at 9. And there's free breakfast in the morning, free lunch, and then the program ends at about 5 p.m.
Then you see the website, www.thinkoutsidethecell.org. You can find out more information about it there, and certainly we want people to think outside the cell.
That always.
Yeah, so when you talk about that, we want to make sure that you know that this particular show is talking about just that, reentry from those persons who've been incarcerated, really providing opportunities for entrepreneurship. That is going to be the topic of conversation, some of the topic of conversation that is taking place at the Prison to Prosperity Fair. And when we look out there, those who have been incarcerated, a lot of people now delving into entrepreneurship?
Yes, there are more and more people, I think, delving into entrepreneurship. And I think what they have the inspiration, I think they have the passion. What they need is support. You know, and we're here to give that to them, as I think a lot of other people are as well when they hear about this. For example, the judges for our business pitch competition, we've got Harold Doley, who is an entrepreneur, was an ambassador, the only African American to have had an individual seat on the stock exchange. We've got Ed Lewis, founder of Essence Magazine. He's going to be one of the judges. We've got Genevieve Michelle Bryan, who is an executive at Black Enterprise. We've got Jonathan Richter, who is an executive at the Deutsche Bank. So we've got really good, terrific people who are involved.
I mean, that's A-list people right there.
They're A-list people, and I think more people, when they see this A-list, then they'll say, hey, maybe I need to do something.
What does that mean for the incarcerated person or the formerly incarcerated person to have the opportunity to even have access, have an audience, or even to be in the same company with these A-list people? What do you think it does for them as a person?
Well, I think it does a couple of things. I think, number one, it says to them that they are valued, that people are out there to help them, that they don't have to go it alone, that the stigma of incarceration doesn't have to be the death of them. Second thing I think it does, it says to them, hey, I can network with these people. I can make them part of my network. Let me have a conversation with them and see where it might take me. Because I think one of the beauties of this kind of event is people will meet people they don't ordinarily meet in their daily lives. Right. So they can take advantage of it.
And it's important that you have the opportunity to take advantage of it. So we want to tell people once again that the fair is free. It's open to the public, and you can have the opportunity to see and share. As we said, there'll be an opportunity to make your pitch.
That's right.
There'll be the Shark Tank there that you can actually talk about your business and really try to pitch it. And if you're really strong in it, guess what? You can come away a winner. And if you're not strong, you'll come away even stronger because there'll be some criticism to give you exactly what you need so that you can be able to do that. So we encourage you to come on out and be a part of this. It's taking place at Lehman College, and we want you to come on out there. You see the Prison to Prosperity Fair and Business Competition from 8 to 5:30 on the campus of Lehman College. You'll have the opportunity to get that information that you definitely will be blessed to take home with you. Talk to me a little bit about Think Outside the Cell, because we talked a lot about, you know, incarceration and the fair, but for you, what's Think Outside the Cell about?
Wow, well, we started this organization a few years ago, 2010 actually, and what we try to do is we try to think of creative ways to help people who are in prison or who have been in prison to begin to make their way, create their own opportunities. And we also work very actively against this stigma of incarceration, to really deal with these collateral consequences, these laws and policies on the books, because they really are unfair and they ultimately do a disservice to society. You know, when you have a whole population that is being kept down because of fear and ignorance, which was the case, I think, as African Americans, we can certainly relate to that, as can, I think, any population that has found themselves on the margin. So that we really want to bring awareness, we want to educate, and we want to begin to tear down these barriers. So that's Think Outside the Cell, and I'm the co-founder with my husband, Joe Robinson.
When you look at some of these laws that are on the books, we know a lot has been said about the Rockefeller drug laws and the fact that you see African Americans, particularly incarcerated at a huge disproportionate rate when it comes to the sentences. Minorities in general, where you can definitely get more for crack than actually there is cocaine. When we look at the advocacy and the things going on, where's that fight right now? Are people still on the front lines and battlefield for this, for prison reform and some of the things that we're dealing with? Yes,
absolutely. I think there is an understanding that the struggle continues. The struggle is not over. And that's not only for this issue, but I think in the larger context, because as you've just mentioned, this issue has a lot to do with what you look like, the color of your skin, and as a result, the laws that are put in place really, we need to be watchdogs. Because often the most punitive have to do with people who look like us. So that the struggle continues on many levels. And I think, yes, people are still in the fight and that they will continue to be. I have a niece at Wake Forest University, and she called me the other day after Michelle Alexander, who wrote the book, The New Jim Crow, spoke. And my niece said, I'm in the fight. I'm in the fight. And that's the beauty, I think, of the struggle. When my generation is tired, the next generation comes. And talk about that next generation. Are they really on the forefront right now? I think what's surprising to me is that they've been popping up all over the country, so that you have groups that are called End Mass Incarceration or End the New Jim Crow. Because we thought at one point in 2011, we said, well, let's do a campus campaign to go around campuses to make people aware. But what we were happy to see was that young folks are doing it. More need to do it, but young folks are doing it. Stereotypes. There are a lot of stereotypes that are associated with persons who've been formerly incarcerated. Can you break down just a couple of them? Because, I think that awareness is key, and really making people educated. So give us a couple of the stereotypes that are out there. Gladly. Well, one is one stereotype is once a what do you want to say? Once a convict or always a convict. Another is those people are violent. They're murderers. They're they rob people. Whatever. What the statistics, and this is the New York State Department's own corrections own statistics, say, people who were committed of violent crimes, when they come home, they're the least likely to go back. They are the least likely. They live stable lives. They make a way for their family. It's very different. The other, so if you say, once a convict or once a thug or whatever, always a thug. What you find is that people in prison are just like the rest of us on the outside. They're not the same person they were when they were 20. They're not the same person they were when they were 25 or 30. I know I can speak, thank God, who I was at 20 is not who I am now. Because I've grown, I've rethought some things, I've learned, and I'm older.
Mm-hmm.
So all those things go into play for people who are in prison as well. They're human beings, just like the rest of us.
Got to take a quick break. Continue some more with Sheila. Get her final thoughts when we return right after this, right here on Perspectives.
This was me. And Mom and Dad. And my big brother Alex. And Jack. And this was the day that I learned that sandals get their name from sand. That jellyfish aren't made of jelly. That stars don't just come from the sky. That the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget that I was sick. And it changed everything. This was my wish.
Here, continuing our conversation with Sheila Rule from Think Outside the Cell and talking about the upcoming Prison and Prosperity Fair. If you don't know, it's coming to Lehman College, and it's the opportunity for those who are formerly incarcerated to have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about entrepreneurs. It's a fair and a business competition for formerly incarcerated entrepreneurs. Saturday, October 26th, going all day from 8 to 5:30. Have some very interesting speakers. Opportunity to win some great prizes, and most of all, it is free and open to the public. We want you to take advantage of that. And so, in our final few seconds that we have together, what do we want people to know going into this, into this fair? What do we want people to know? Take away.
Well, we want them to know that people who come home from prison are deserving of all good things. They're deserving of support, that they have such great potential and great gifts, and we all need to encourage that. Encourage it, because they are citizens and they are our neighbors. They will be our co-workers, so we need to treat them the way they deserve to be treated.
And before we get out of here, how do people get in contact with you? They want to share more about the fair or Think Outside the Cell?
Thank you. They may email thinkoutsidethecell@verizon.net. They can call 877-267-2303.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, and best wishes on the fair, and thank you for giving us the awareness and the enlightenment.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Sheila, our guest here on Perspectives. And unfortunately, that wraps it up for this edition. We want to tell you, as we said, always hit us up on the social networking sites, Facebook and Twitter. There you can find out about this show, other shows, and most of all, get to share your comments. That about ends it for us here. We encourage you to stay and share your perspective with somebody else, because it just might make a difference in their life. I'm Darren Jaime. Until the next time we meet, stay safe and God bless.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy. Oh, and she even talks to it. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
Live with a human for a while.